finally now. Is he stunning me? What is this? What the fuck?
Your arteries constrict. You have redeemed yourself.
I will. I'm spoiled. I want 2 divines like you gave me yesterday. Nothing less. Hi, my name is Malone. I play many games, and one of the games that I love is PoE Exile. This is a guide for this build that I made. That is no meta at all. It's kind of meta, but it's not with totems, traps, or mines. That I really don't like these 3 things. So I like to hardcast spells and shit. And this is Hexblast. You can see that the character is very tanky and it's all rounded by the I don't know, the different highlights that you saw before. So the whole theory crafting is here. I started the build using determination, but then I found this beautiful thing here. This elegant hubris that gives me supreme decadence, that I'm going to come back to this at some point. But it gives me 80% with 80%, 160% increased armor. And by testing, by going around, I decided that it was useful to drop determination with that. And this also gives me 50 cold resistance for a little investment. I already had the possibility to come to this dual socket here, and I really needed Supreme Decadence. Why? Because I'm starting with the defenses. I'm so sorry that I'm chaotic. I have Replica Soul Tether as one of the big defenses. You gain 7% of maximum life as extra maximum energy shield, Corrupted Soul. And I also had this beautiful thing here. This Sacred Chainmail. 10% of physical damage from hits taken as cold damage. Effect of the curses, that is like, that's my build. And I multi-modded it. I was going to make a better one, but that's the one that I crafted from scratch this, and I could find this. So this is beautiful. As you can see, I have 371 energy shield in this. So yeah, I have Fizz Flats there, I have the regen, I have some spell blocks, some life. So the energy shield from this, and some other items as well, like this and this and this, they're like obligatory, gives me a nice buffer of anything but chaos damage of 3027 energy shield. So since I have here Corrupted Soul, 50% of non-chaos damage taken bypasses energy shield, and gain 15% of maximum life as extra maximum energy shield together. 7 here. It's pretty good. So it's a nice defensive layer on top of everything. Yeah, we don't have access to fortified anymore, even like with some tech. So we have to find ways to defend ourselves. And the armor here without flasks is like around 10k. But with the granite goes to 16k, so it's pretty fine. This is still level 95, as you can see. I'm still leveling the build. And the build here for the Beast 97, pretty tanky. Not as super tanky as some meta builds, not at all. And this is not too cheap as well. This is some divines worth. But the damage is pretty decent. It's like 3,100,000k, so it's pretty decent. So let's continue here for more layers of defense. I have life, obviously, and that's the whole pool for chaos damage. Chaos damage is normally uncommon, but it's there. It has there's some chaos damage over time too. I have some life regen for that. But Supreme Decadence, life recovery from flasks, also applies to energy shield. 30% less life recovery from flasks. So I decided that the best flasks would be this one here. Reduced amount recovered, but then 50% recovery applied instantly. Why? Like, yeah, it's nice to have the 66% one and just like have fully recover the full 100%, right? I like to have a little bit of a buffer because when your life gets to full, the flask effect stops, right? But sometimes your life doesn't get to full, even with the 66 one. So it's nice to have you can also see that it's in 1.50 seconds. So I can spam it, obviously, in like very dangerous situations. But if you're in mild risk, or if the risk is actually dot, that is much better. And yeah, the bleeding, I have bleeding and bleeding here as well. I'm immune to corrupted blood. I have this here, another layer of terror that is huge. Because my build uses Vixen and part of my damage, especially clear speed damage, is impeding doom, double impeding doom, I am casting 4 curses at once, all the time. So I am casting curses. So immune to curses if you cast Despair in the past 10 seconds. And Despair is my cookie cutter here. I cast Despair to cast the rest of the curses. So I'm immune to curses. This comes from Lycia. I don't farm Sanctum anymore. I played a lot of Sanctum in the Sanctum League, but this is very good. Like, it's not that hard to find one of those in trade. I wanted to find the Enfeeble one to be immune to crit, but that's, I don't know, it just vanished. So having cooldown recovery helps a little bit with the Flame Dash from movements in like boss fights when you like risky, but not as much as the automation support together with Steel Skin. So you have a little more defense there. So immunity to curses and some cooldown reduction as I'm casting Temporal Chains here. So I have the combo of Enfeeble, Temporal Chains, Punishment. Enfeeble being the most defensive one, Temporal Chains mildly defensive, and Punishment defensive in the situation that they hit you, but also damage-wise, and Despair for the damage. You can see that the Hexblast uses the lowest resistance, but I decided to go like this, and it was working pretty well. I have 40% reduced extra damage from critical strikes by cursed enemies, and 43 reduced extra damage from critical strikes here. So a natural 43 from the shield, and every time that I curse, because I cursed everybody all the time, I would be 83% resistant to crits. So it's pretty good. And I have also Magebane here. I had a mix of defenses, as you can see. I have some spell block. I have spell block from here, these nodes here. These nodes give me spell block. Oh, here, it's in the body armor, is one of the enchantments. So I total 20% spell block. And then I go for 31% spell damage suppression without the quality flask activated, right? In the ideal situation, you either have 100% spell suppress. No, the ideal situation is 100% spell suppress. That's amazing. But I try to put as a rule of thumb is that if you can't get to 100 spell suppress, you should double the number in your mind of the block spell damage. That in this case 20 would be 40 with 71, I'm getting close to 100, right? So if you have like 25 spell block and 50 spell suppress, you're good. Not exactly for high-end bossing, because high-end bossing, yes, you would rather have 100% spell suppress, obviously. But for mapping in general, approach to this 100 number and it would be nice. And the spell suppress. I have one maximum resistances from the Protection Mastery that I couldn't remove. I tried to find some unique jewels that would solve my problems, but I couldn't, so I still ran with the Soul of the Brine King for the immunity to freeze, and here the reduced effect to shock. That this together with this made me immune to shock. Apart from the nodes of Expedition, that you have shock effects there, so I would have some shock, so I stopped clicking on those nodes. Because you don't have immunity to shock, you have reduced effect to shock. That even being 100% less, 100% reduced, if you have something that is that has like 150 or 200% shock by having 100% more, then you only have 100% less, and then they still shock you normally. So that's those. If you're not immune to shock, Expedition can be a little dangerous, so pay attention to that. And because I got the immunity to curses here, I didn't put the your limit resistance cannot be lowered by curses. That you either are overcapped, decently overcapped, together with flasks, and pray for not receiving a double curse in your face, or you're only overcapped on 10% because of exposure, right? And then you can go Corrupted Blood with Gem or the Protection Master. Protection Master is amazing. And you can see everything here, and I have +1 max here, which also gives you reduction. So these are for defenses. I have some regen. As you can see, I use the flasks to regen, and the maximum life against Chaos was the worst part of my defenses. The suppress, oh, I already have some suppress here in the travel nodes to get to here. Recovering life on kill from higher killer, and yeah, the small dose didn't grant 20, but this is so good. I do contents that I love, like Ultimatum, and being able to just keep up, it's so powerful. This is not as powerful in my build because I have a lot of energy shield here, but I just gain flash charges and I keep recovering the energy shield, definitely, obviously, yeah. But this is so powerful if you have a full life build. That's amazing. I made a cookie cutter, like everything was going to be done by me. I like to play all of it. I did heists, I did like everything with this build. And I decided to go for Profane Bloom. If you really want damage with Hexblast and a little less protection, in the way that I'm having here now, you should go with Militant Faith. I still have mine. Inner Conviction. Militant Faith, Inner Conviction. 3% more spell damage per power charge. And obviously then you would go to Beautiful Forbidden Power, and you can pay some power charges here, and then you can itemize for power charges as well. And then you are going to have the increased damage from here, and then the more damage from there. There are many ways that this build can scale to be more defensive or more offensive. You can choose, you can do many things. I decided to go like middle ground here. I got some elemental resistances and attributes from here because I was struggling in the gear, because the gear was so specific, and my build uses Bike Sense and Doedri's Corn. Doedri's Corn is such a powerful setup for this because of the add this 37 to 71 chaos damage for each curse on the enemy, and the enemies normally would have 4 curses. So yeah, that was amazing. For the 6 links, I have here Void Manipulation, Hypothermia, Control Destruction, Faster Casting, and Unleash. You could find more damage to substitute faster casting by Arcane Surge, but then it's shitty. Either you could transform the enchant here of 33 spell damage to cast speed, because I got some cast speed by creating, I crafted this myself. I couldn't find a better one in trade. I couldn't craft a better one, like that was the best that I could do. I still needed to farm more items to have a better one, but that was pretty decent. Like the spell damage is decent, the +1 decent. And I went with the cast speed. If I went with the cast speed in the enchantment of the runes instead, maybe I could have removed the faster casting here and made it work. But still, by having Unleash is so powerful in this build. By having Unleash, you kind of need the faster casting. And if you don't have Unleash, then you can have other thing that is not faster casting, but I think it's so powerful Unleash. Because when you have a 20 quality Hexblast, you have less a chance to not remove a hex, right? So you get a 90% chance to remove a hex after damage. So yeah, Unleash made so much sense. I have a +1 to all chaos skill gems. I found this in trade. That has like this amulet also is not the best, but it gave me my intelligence. I was struggling to get intelligence because I went with some nodes for mana regen here. I was struggling with mana, and then I stopped struggling, and then it was working out because the clarity itself, I even have a clarity 21 here. was not being enough. Mana is, I'm very mana thirsty on this build. I had the Flame Dash with the Culling Strike, Skitter Bots when I could find the determination by socketing this gem and get the 160% on the armor here. I substituted the determination by Skitter Bots, and since Skitter Bots always shocks and has more shock effect, and I have some shock effects as I think from Holy Dominion, then yeah, this gave me clearly in PoE, and obviously by playing the game you could see that the shock effect was pretty good. And since my Hexblast is not crit based, I was not shocking enemies all the time. I barely shocked enemies. I was freezing them frequently because of hypothermia here, but not shocking at all. I was freezing just by normal chance, okay, 40% with, I have 10 here, so they were being frozen all the time. This is a very important node in my build, right? You have some attribute, you have some spell damage, pretty good. The crit chance doesn't matter because you control the destruction here, so it really doesn't matter. Pretty good. So I went with Aura's Formula Skill, 10% increases effect on you. That was really good on all fronts, also because I use Clarity, so yeah. Mana Reservation, you have some life here. Life regen, and mana regen. Life. Then in here, I went with this node. I was with this node more defensive, but then I changed some items, and so I could remove Arcane Wheel, and I could remove these two, and then it went here. So this is so powerful. 2% increases spell damage per 100 maximum mana, up to 40%. My maximum mana, you can see here, is almost 1,200. By 2, I missed like 2, like 1 level up more, and I would have, I guess, 2% more. But this is powerful. And then the Wandslinger. Surprisingly, I don't attack with wands, but the name of these nodes are increased damage while wielding a wand. And here, increased damage while wielding a wand. Attack speed helps with the shield charge, but it's not helpful at all for DPS. And here, increased damage 30% while wielding a wand. You could argue that some other places can give you different synergies, but this one here was very powerful. You get 30, 40, 54% in 3 nodes. Again, the attack speed here only worked for the shield charge, so not relevant at all. I got many of my travel nodes to be chaos damage for tattoos. You can see tattoo of the Tahua warrior. I got a bunch of mana regen and a bunch of Tahua warriors. I had the mana, I have the intelligence specifically for the accumulator wand to be used because I could upgrade to the accumulator wand because of endurance charge, frenzy, and power charges that I actually needed more the endurance and frenzy because crits I was barely critting because of the control destruction. So accumulator wand, really powerful. Since this is the League of Endurance charges are the shit, you should try to find a way to have endurance charges in your build. So I went here with the damage penetrates 7% chaos resistance. And I also had Force of Darkness. Force of Darkness damage penetrates 15% chaos resistance. This is one of the new ones that you can allocate using prismatic oil. So you either talent this in your tree, in your atlas, or you buy from trade if you're playing trade. Of course, I bought from trade. So very powerful. It was allocated right here, Force of Darkness. In my case, that is a build that basically hits. The damage is not from dots. So penetrates 15 chaos resistance with 7 here, made it to be 22. That's why I didn't go with the other like types of curses here too, so that Hexblast uses the lowest resistance stat. No, this pair, damage penetration, and this worked so well, right? So well. You can find other ways to damage the Hexblast such a powerful way, and if you like mines, traps, and totems, I don't like them. Yeah, you can have much more damage. But I play with what I enjoy, and I enjoy hardcasting. So travel nodes, they were a pain in the ass to get here, but these nodes are essential. These are essential. Number 1, the AoE for the Hex. So important. Like every cast of mine, such a large amount of enemies were inflicted, and then the Impending Doom together with the Profane Bloom would do the job. That was awesome. Together with obviously the additional curse that you need and the increased effect of curses here that is so powerful. 5 and 7 from here, and also you have 5 from here. I think 10. So these are very important, defensively or offensively. And I think that's it for the whole build. I have here that you can see the normal stats in the amethyst rings. You can see I tried to find better rings, but it's pretty hard. Like, these rings were okay. Oh, and I also made a double enchant of regen mana per second. You could find different ways, but since I was relying on Arcane Surge, I didn't want to spend less mana. I wanted to regen more mana. My Arcane Surge was part of my DPS. You can see that my Arcane Surge here is level 12, because I wanted at least around 2 casts of this to be able to make it so that I would always have Arcane Surge on. And Arcane Surge, I had it on my 6th link before, but then when I decided to go for Unleash, that it was better, then yeah, Unleash is the one that makes more sense. And still you get the effect of Arcane Surge happening all the time. You have some cast speed, you have some mana regen, so it's pretty good. That's pretty good. And that's it for the build. I hope that you have enjoyed. I made a lot of explanations here. A lot of newcomers can be, I don't know, enjoying this build. This build is not end game and not meta at all, but it's going to be very tanky and it's going to clear all the contents that you're needing as long as you get out of the way of beams and slams and everything. And it's 100% hardcore viable. I'm still playing hardcore here. I'm still leveling up. So I hope that you have fun with Hexblast Hardcast. I see you in the next one. Bye. Subscribe to help the channel so much. Thank you. I see you in the next one. Bye.